Okay. Debbie, you can go for it.
Sorry. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another webinar that is called the YTime. And as we know, it's exclusive to the Y Network, and we are very, very pleased to offer it to you this evening. We're going to start right now with me. My name is Debbie Hogg, and I am the Gold Coast Chapter Manager. And I've been involved in Y Network since November last year, and it's probably one of the best things that I've ever done. Our presenter tonight is the fabulous Annette Densham, and she is the publicity genie. So she's got a background in print and journalism, working for the Australian, the Daily Telegraph, and the Senior. And as I said, she's a publicity genie and sees the world in stories. She helps businesses business owners actually find and love their own stories, because we all actually have stories, don't we? Think you haven't got a story? Well, let me tell you, you can think again, especially with Annette at the tail. Annette believes if you've survived 20 years plus on the face of the earth, you've got a lot of stories. Sure, they're not all suitable for the spotlight of the mainstream media, but you may be very surprised where their interest in you and your background come from. The angle that some media may find really interesting, and I suppose I can appreciate that, because there's many different medias out there, isn't there? So tonight I would like to introduce you to Annette, and we're going to run through the 5 P's of PR. So if you have never considered PR or just have absolutely no idea, the insights that Annette's going to share will help you kickstart your PR journey. Now, we're going to wind up this at 8 o'clock, and Annette's going to run through the 5 P's, and at the end of each P, so we're going to do a lot of peeing tonight, at the end of each P, we're going to take a little tiny break, and I'm going to feed the questions to Annette. So she's the expert in this area, and so I would like to invite you to put any questions that you have as they come up. There's a slight delay, so when we type it in, there is a little bit of a tiny delay, and then I'm going to feed them to Annette. So it's going to be fast, but I know that it's going to be really informative. So I would like us all to welcome Annette, who's our publicity genie. So take it away, Annette, and thanks.
Thank you very much, Debbie, and it's great to see you all. I use the air quotations there tonight. We're going to run through this really quickly, obviously in an hour, but I really want to share with you just how possible it is for you to get publicity for your business, regardless of what size your business is and what type of business you have, because it's really just about knowing how to find those stories and then working out who wants them, because with over 9,000 different types of media outlets in Australia, including bloggers, online magazines, offline magazines, and all types of different media, is there is someone out there who wants your story. They're desperate for your story, because if you can imagine putting together a publication once a month, there's a lot of space to fill and you can't write it all yourself. So we're going to go through the 5 P's. I'll run through them quickly. Screen to work. There we go. So the 5 P's of PR, how any business can get free publicity. So the first P is purpose, and we're going to run through, why are you doing this and what is it that you want to get out of it. Personal, what you need as a foundation to kickstart your PR campaign. Professional, what are the stories behind your business and how can you create those stories? What type of stories are the media looking for? Plan. Look, we all know the saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So knowing what it is that you want, how you're going to deliver it, and who you're going to talk to, just makes it that much easier for you to manage and process. This is the actual delivery, like how much time do you need to do, how you can use the stories that you create in a range of different ways. So the first P, let's go, purpose. So what is really important here is that you know what it is that you want to achieve with your publicity. Now, PR falls under the umbrella of marketing. So that means it's a process for you to get your product and your service and yourself out there so more people know who you are and they want to buy what you've got, what you're selling. But without, and this is the beauty of PR, is it's not about the hard sell, it's about the tell. And that's why story is absolutely everything. And I'm hoping by the time we finish here tonight that you've come up with a couple that you can use. So what are your goals? What is it you want to achieve? How are you going to make that happen? And as you begin the planning process, is that you have to know who you're talking to, not just the media outlet that you're talking to, but the person. Who is your avatar? And Shah does some great work on helping you create your avatar. So if you haven't got that nailed down, I suggest that you make a time to talk with her, because it's vital regardless of what you're doing in your business. If you don't know who you're doing it for, or you're trying to talk to everybody, you're really going to lose the impact of your message and lose the power of what it is that you're doing, because you can't stand on top of a hill and shout to everyone. You have to know your why. Hey, we're all in the Y network, so we know that. But if you haven't nutted that out yet, again, another really vital part of determining what your purpose is. And, you know, I'd like to know, hands up, or, you know, type a little note, who has a marketing plan? Are you actually thinking about what it is you need to do on a day-to-day or a week-by-week or a month-by-month basis to promote your business? And that could be the advertising that you do on Facebook, or local advertising in local papers, or the flyers or the brochures or whatever it is that you're doing. Because if you've already started that process, you're halfway there. And what about the frequently asked questions? There are things that people are going to ask you time and time and time again. If you've got those hammered out, then you can use those on your website and for dealing with objections. Because if you know what people are going to say when you're sitting there in front of them trying to close, or they walk into your shop, or you've had a meeting with someone who's a prospective client, have the objection overcomers ready to go. Now, you can pop those into a Media Kit. Media Kits are awesome, and I suggest everybody create one, because it allows anybody who wants to get a quick snapshot of your business to go to your website and download that Media Kit. So, you know, if you go looking for Media Kit, you'll probably find a lot of them that will have advertising rates. But the Media Kit I'm talking about is that little package which says who you are, what you do, why you do it, what your products and services are, and what things that you're an expert on speaking on. Because if your goal here is to become the expert in your coaching field, or in the retail industry that you work in, or in the health side of the business that you run, then the media are going to want to know what you can talk about. So that's the purpose. Do we have any questions, or would you like to know a little bit more about some aspect of that and how it can work for you?
Well, just at the moment, Annette, Maria's actually asked what's in a Media Kit. Now, I heard you say, you know, who you are, what you do, why you do it, but what other things could be in a Media Kit to make it kind of stand out and worthwhile?
Okay, well, I think one of the best things that you can do with a Media Kit is also include video. So it could be you sitting there talking about what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you can speak on with skill and expertise. You could also include testimonials in there. Again, video is a really great tool to use, and the reason why it's such a good tool to use is because it's really easy for us to make words up. You know, how many websites have you been to and you've sat there and gone, not quite sure about that? So you want to have your bio, a summary of who you are and your experience. You want to have a summary of your business, what it does, why it does it, you know, who the target audience is. You also want to have a list of your products and services, and Sarah's said there, check out her website because she's got a media kit on there. So, and if you're not sure, that's what you do, go check out other people's. But the primary thing is that you really need the bio, the product information, your company information, a really nice headshot of yourself, and that'll get you started.
Okay, that sounds great. And thanks for expanding on that. And Sarah's actually put in her where you'll find her media kit on her website. So if anyone wants to have a little look, as Annette said, it's a good idea to have a little look around, see what other people are doing, because it changes all the time. And one of the big things that came up for me there was being really specific to your target, and having the videos, and they're specific about what you do, and just creating that, you know, that place that you're the expert. You know, you're the expert in your field. So thank you very much for that. There's no other questions so far, so
I'm just checking out Sarah's media kit because she put a link there. So, pardon me, Sarah, what you've got that's really good there is you've got copies of the press releases that you've done and examples of recent media coverage. High-res images are really good, but in terms of the kit, there's really nothing there that says anything about you. And if you know, if you remember what Shah says, and she says it over and over, that what's the difference between you and someone else's business? It's why you're doing something. It's being able to connect with you as a person who has a story than someone who doesn't. So that's how you can ramp up that media kit. Again, if you go and Google media kits, there's some really great examples out there of what you can put in yours and how you can design it. And it doesn't have to be overly flash. As long as it's got the information there, it's error-free, and it's easy for people to download as a PDF, then you're winning.
Excellent, excellent. Actually, she did say that after listening to you, it might not be quite right.
Yes, I saw that. But Sarah, in terms of what you've got there, and you know, you've got copies of your current media releases, you've got some high-res images, which is really important. So an example today, I've got a client who our goal is to get as many product placements as possible for her product. So I had an opportunity today, like urgent. If you ever work with a PR person and they say it's urgent, they mean it's urgent. So I said to her, okay, we need a high-res image of this. The theme is black and white. Let's go. We can have this in this publication. It's the target market that you want to be reaching, and we need to have it now. I need a high-res image. What did I get? I got a 61 kilobyte image, which is just not going to fly with any type of media publication. So if you can provide those high-res images, you also need a picture of you, the patients that will ask you to write for them, and they'll want to have your photo. So they'll go sussing out here and want to grab your photo off there, and there's nothing showing your beautiful face.
That's really, really good advice, isn't it? So fantastic. Okay, I am the time person on this, okay. So I think it's probably time we moved on to personal. What do you reckon?
Personal, absolutely. I just looked at the clock and went, oh yes, we better get going. So personal, this is your story. This is where you have an opportunity to really set yourself apart from so many other people who really focus on the sell, and connect with them emotionally in some way, because we've all started our businesses for a reason. My reason, I started my business because my last role was made redundant, and I was at a loss. Campbell Newman had just gotten rid of, 400 communication jobs, and the market was flush with really awesome talent. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to stand out? So I went, I'm going to start my own business. So part of writing your bio is where you can tell the story of how you got to where you are. So it depends on who your audience is. You can create one that's, corporate and pretty boring, but use the opportunity to put you into it. It's always good to write it in third person, but the bio is, and it should be consistent across all your platforms so everybody's getting the same message, because this is about your brand creation. This is about what you're presenting to the world. So it's also your logo, it's your headshots. So make sure you get professional ones done, because you don't want to have some snapshot on there if you want to be speaking to, a corporate audience, or if your avatar are professional women, because they'll go and have a look at you, and that 7 seconds that we take to, sum someone up, is that still happens online. So when they go looking at your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook, or they download your media kit, pardon me, so your bio is a really crucial element of that. And this is where you can also tell your story, so your why. And Shah's why is awesome, and it motivates people and it inspires people, and I know each of you have got a really awesome why you're doing what you're doing, what has driven you to create this product or service, what is it you're getting out of it, and what is it that you're giving to other people. Now, these are the three that I've got on the screen: why, tragedy, and triumph, are three key stories that the media go looking for. And there's a thing called newsworthiness. And these are some of the elements of newsworthiness. So tragedy, you think about, when you're watching the news and there's, something horrible's happened to someone, and as much as you don't want to look, it's like watching a car accident. I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look, and it's, oh my God, I just looked. It brings people in. It has that visceral effect on people. And then the triumph stories, they're the ones that make people feel good about themselves. They cheer you on. They want you to succeed. They want you to do better. And I imagine, again, that we've all got a triumphant story. Can you think of any that apply to you? No questions coming?
No,
or no
not,
comments?
no, not yet. Not yet. No, we might just. I think
We might
it's a
just
good one.
keep
Yeah, we might just keep on going to along to professional.
professional. So this is similar to the personal side of creating your story. So it's the story of the business. How did your business get started? Was there's something funny about how it started? Do you work in a strange office or with strange people? What is it that your business does? What does it provide? But you can tell that story without selling. And I'll keep harping on about this, because a lot of people, if particularly if you're doing advertising as part of your marketing strategy, is you will often get offered an editorial, particularly with the local Quest newspapers. And if you do, grab it and use it as an opportunity to tell the story of your business. So your ad will be selling and the story of your business will be telling. So that story could be a case study. So someone that you've helped, a success story of a client whose problems that you've solved. So you've saved them money, or you've assisted them through a really difficult situation, or you've helped them overcome a health problem, or you've, Debbie, I know you're online, or you've paid it forward in some way that has made a huge impact. And if you don't have those for now, there's 7 other different type of stories that you can use around your business. So you can take local stories and make them national. So say something has happened in your local area. So it may be that you've contributed, you've done a deal with the council and you're delivering training to unemployed people, and the recent unemployment statistics have come out, you could send that to the Australian newspaper with, hey, here's the recent stats, here's a way that we're overcoming this in our particular community. So you've linked it with something that's of national interest, and other people who are in their little communities, you might inspire them to do something similar. A lot of the trade publications and even the glossy magazines have an editorial calendar. They'll either be online, or you can contact the publication and say, can you send me a copy of your editorial calendar? So this allows them to plan their topics in advance. We also have that for Y Magazine, so watch out, that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. There's some really exciting things happening there, but more on that later. Or you can contact their advertising department and say, for Qantas magazine, and you have a product that is aligned with their theme, so it might be travel to exotic places. If you're a travel agent and you visited an exotic place, you could write a review on that. But that also will help you get some ideas on how you can plan your story content for the next few months. So you don't even need to contribute to that particular publication. You can go and steal their content ideas and use it for your own good purposes. Now, there's another thing that's called newsjacking, and it's if a journalist has written something in your industry about something related to your business, that you can add your 2 cents to that. So you can give them a ring and you can say, hey, here's my point of view or my opinion, so you add another newsworthy angle. So an example of that is I've got a client who's an author, and she writes about emotional healing after pregnancy loss. And last year there was a story on the project about miscarriage. So we tapped into that because there was a lot of interest at the time, and sent out a media release about the words that people use to convey their sorrow to someone after they've lost a baby. But they're often quite, without meaning to, not very nice, and it can be quite hurtful to the person who's lost the child. And we pitched it to ABC Radio, a couple of magazines, a local paper, and they all picked it up because it was topical, and we got it at a time where there was interest. So that's what newsjacking is if there's something going on, tap into that. And you can do that, be aware of what's going on by reading the publications that you want to get into and knowing what's going on and what they're reporting on, or setting up Google Alerts. Google Alerts is a really good way. Put in the keywords that relate to you, and they'll come into your inbox every afternoon or as often as you want. So the next way you can tell your story is be the hero. So if you help someone out, save them a stack of money, made their life better, raise money for a charity. So while it's not necessarily promoting you and you're telling their story, you're still getting publicity because you're still being mentioned. So like the media gives you the best social proof on the planet, which is third-party credibility for free. Like you've not paid for it. You can't get better than that. So imagine if you've got someone else plus the media saying how awesome you are. Okay, a couple more. Got holidays, Christmas, New Year. The period between Christmas and New Year is the slowest in the media. They're desperate for stories. So you can approach, maybe you can approach the holiday a little differently. Say you got Easter, you got Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, all of those international and days of recognition is that you can tap into and find a media angle, but it's got to be new and it's got to be different. Or if you go back and you look at how long ago they published something on that. How-to articles, how to solve problems, probably I think the best type of article you can do, problem solving. And then success stories. So they're the case studies of the people that you're working with. Any questions? Got any ideas on stories that you think that you can use to get some publicity for you?
It'd be good if people could maybe just pop that into the question box there, so we can just maybe have a little throw around with that. No one's mentioning anything yet.
Throw some ideas, like if can't hide anywhere these days, Debbie said. No, that's right, we can see you. So if
Okay, well,
you've got an idea,
let's start with me. I mean, I'm a life coach, and everyone is into personal development. Something I heard the other day, actually. It's it's not called new age anymore. So if it's not new age, what is it called? What can it be called? So there could be a new trend that I could start.
absolutely. But you're right, because it isn't new age. It's, almost every corner you turn, there's someone who is a life coach. But I think you could also, I mean, the fact that you are award winning, or have you won an award, Debbie? I think you have, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah. So is that recent?
2010.
Okay. It's time that you entered another one, I think.
It's a big deal, though. I mean, Australia and New Zealand Coach of the Year, the competition's stiff, but yeah, let's enter another one.
Yeah, let's enter another. That's another really great way to get PR is winning an award, because then you can toot your own horn for that. So you could look at, how is it that you do what you do differently? How do you stand out from the crowd?
Mm. Mm.
So that's a great way to get a story. Just thinking about, what else could you do? Is there anything controversial in your industry that you could blow the lid off? Could it be the training that's provided, without being nasty? But like I said, there are a lot of people who are coaches out there. So, to me, is that a little bit like being a personal trainer? You can go do a 10-week course and all of a sudden you can, help change someone's life.
Well, it takes a bit longer than that. Like a certificate or a diploma, you can take a choice. But it is. A lot of people are doing it now, and and I know some coaches find it difficult to differentiate themselves, and get their businesses up and going.
Okay, you could also do an article on why it's important to niche as a business coach, because you can't be an expert on everything. I mean, like, that's something that you could write for a trade publication, and because I haven't read any of those, I don't know if they've done those stories, but to me that would be interesting.
So, and it's a thing that maybe as we get together with a buddy, or we get together with a group of people, even at one of the lunches that we have after a Y Network event, do a bit of brainstorming, because it can be quite challenging to think of all the ideas yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good suggestion, Debbie, because what I say to people is, if you've got a story idea, throw it past somebody who has really no idea about what you do and see what they say. So if they fall asleep while you're talking, you know that you're not onto a winner. But if they start asking questions and they want to know more, then you think, okay, maybe I've got something here. So, and I think it's also about brainstorming, and the best way I find to develop story ideas is to just get a piece of paper and sit there and just write about all the solutions that I offer, and what problems is it that I'm solving, what are some of the expertise that I offer, and you'll find something through that. Now, Sarah said she finds the difficult part is getting them to publish and getting contact. Yeah, you know what, Sarah, journalists, I was a journalist, but yeah, we're difficult people. There's a lot of prima donnas out there. Don't tell anyone I said that. But there's a lot of journalists who think that, they're very, very important. The challenge there is the pitch, so we'll get to that down in process, but connecting with them could just be an ongoing process. So if you've only been at it a couple of months, don't give up. Keep going back. Keep offering great content. Be really easy to work with. And another way I find to really connect with journalists and get them to start liking me is to go to them with stories that don't benefit me at all. So I might hear about, someone, and I'll ring up and say, like I did it with Channel 9 at Springfield a couple of weeks ago. They rang me and said, we've heard this story's happening in Springfield. Do you know anyone who can help us? And I spent, 45 minutes helping them out. Now, the producer of Channel 9 Springfield is speaking at the Springfield Y chapter launch because she likes me.
Yeah.
So don't give up, Sarah. Just keep going. I mean, you've already had one win. That's awesome. But I think the thing here as well is with the stories, don't just focus on mainstream media, because there's far more opportunities out there that will still get you in front of the people that you want to talk to.
Yeah. Just keep at it. Just keep at it.
Don't give up. As soon as you give up, as soon as you go, that didn't work, I've tried it once, you've let them win. So you just keep going. And that's why, lovely segue here, the plan is so important. This is where you create the content. So once you've started brainstorming those story ideas, you put it into a strategy. What am I going to write? What is my angle? How can I adapt this across different platforms? And by that I mean, how can I use this on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is that you're using? Is that you need to have a plan for that. What images am I going to use? And it also comes back to your brand. What is the message that you're putting out there that will keep bringing people to reading your content? Now, like, who blogs? Is there any of the folks online who blog?
Well, I do.
Yeah, I do. What do you like blogging about, Debbie? How do you get your ideas for blogging?
They just come to me, actually, kind of in the middle of the night. Things very personal development. It can be anything from, the relationship between the mother and the child, or the mother and the parents and the children. How important manners are. Mum down the bottom of the pile, the burnt chop syndrome. The power of happiness. What is happiness? The way we think. The benefits of positive thinking? How do you get out of that negativity? All sorts of things. I could go off.
Do you know what you just did there, Debbie?
You had a brainstorming session.
You just came out with a whole heap of topics for media stories.
Yeah.
So those blogs that you are writing, is that you can then turn them into a media release.
Okay.
So when you know how to write one, it's quite easy to adapt anything that you've written as a blog into a media release and then go hunting. So this part of the planning is, okay, here I've got this content. And that's why doing the stories is the first thing that you do, because then you see what the content is that you've created, who you've created it for, and then you can go looking for where these and who these people are listening to, what they're watching, what they're connecting with.
And then the other thing that I found quite useful is, once you've got that story, it can be quite easy to change it around and focus it on, because I do some writing for women in business as well, so turning attitudes around, or turning the way we think around, but we're really pointing it at and using when you're in business and women in business and working from home and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many publications specifically aimed at women out there who would love your content.
Absolutely. A question comes up for me, and I haven't found anyone to be able to answer it yet, is that if I write an article, let's say I write an article for Y Magazine, and then I want to put it on my website as a blog, is that okay for me to put it on there as just word for word, because it's my article? First of all, is that okay?
Well, yeah, it's okay, but it kind of diminishes your message then, because you're diluting it by having it in lots of different places. What you could do is slightly change it, change your headline, change your intro a little bit, because also what you're doing there is, if you've got your website on there, you know, so you have an article on in YMag, you've created a backlink to your website.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Google has like little, I think they're called spiders, spider bots, or whatever they call them, that trawl through the internet looking for unique backlinks. So if you have the same story, same headline, saying everything, they look at that and they dismiss it. So it reduces your opportunity of moving up the ranks in Google searches. So, you know, you don't have to change. Someone's ringing. Darling, I'm going to be late.
Sorry, I think that was me. Okay, that's good. That's very good, because I've also had a few other people ask me about that exactly, just as I asked you about. So that's good to know. And also, like you say, changing things around makes complete sense.
Yeah. So that way you've got one thing that you've written, you've done all the hard work, and you can adapt and change it according to whoever the media is that you want to share with. So here, every media outlet has their own style, their own way of writing and of communicating with their audience. So if you're sending them the same thing that you wrote for YMag, it may not be appropriate for women in business because they have a more formal style. So, and sometimes that's why your story gets rejected by the media, because you've not spent the time getting to know them and understanding the tone and the style of their content and adapting it to suit. So they go, you know, it's like giving a present to someone that, you know, you've not even bothered to get to know. You just, you know, you buy someone a skirt and they never wear skirts, they wear trousers. So they're going to look at that and go, oh, gee, they don't really care about me. You know, journalists and media are no different. Is they want you to make their job as easy as possible. And if you can do that, then they will help you out by publishing the story.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, it's building rapport with them, really, isn't it?
And
Absolutely.
Can I just add something to you? Well done, ladies. This is going really well. I'm working in the background and eavesdropping. But I just wanted to add something there that Annette, and I know you're right, because you know you're right, and you've been in this industry and you do it every day and live, breathe and eat it. But when I was in the Middle East, when I was in Thailand, I was taught by the PR manager for the hotel that I worked in, and she was incredible at what she did. And I said, like, what are the tips? So how are you getting so much press for this hotel? And she said, I make the journalist's life easy, and they love me, because when they are at that last minute deadline, they've either forgotten to file something, or there's a story they've been working on, or someone else has been working on that's fallen through because someone hasn't sent something on time. They've got space to fill. They've got their manager literally breathing down their neck. And she said what she did was did all the high resolution images up, put them on the CDs, sent them out to the journalists of the papers or wherever it was. But on the CD, the difference that she made was she wrote the hotel name, the key information, located at. She put all of that information on the CD in permanent marker, because a lot of people send journalists CDs and now memory sticks, but they don't write anything on them. So when a journalist was scrounging around with these 10 minutes to go, she was able to pull out the CD, knew exactly who it was from, which hotel, where the spa was, everything. And that's why they got featured so much. And it's not to say that the property wasn't nice, but because she made it so easy for the journalists to feature the hotel, they got featured all the time.
There you go. Absolutely. Thank you, Shah. That is exactly right. If you make life, it's like with anybody, you make their life easier, they're going to love you. And it comes back to your media kit. It comes back to your brand and your story and your bio, is that if you've got that all packaged nicely, how do you think these people get on Sunrise and Today magazines? Is that easy for the journalist, and they work with them? You're saying here, ladies, great idea. I'm just going to take that, Maria, that you just mean everything that I said is great, so thank you.
And Dennis actually said that you suggested something at another event, was to look at headlines that have been used already. and put
Yes.
our spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of that newsjacking. So if you see a story that you can contribute to, you put your spin on that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, we don't have any more questions or any more suggestions yet, so shall we move on?
Let's do our final P for the night.
Okay.
I'm going to have fun with that.
Sorry,
I've got
I
a
need
lot.
to toilet now. I've just had to add that in there.
It's all about the P's. There was a story in the paper the other day, and like I was saying, some news stories is like a car accident. You just can't help but look and just be taken in by it. And you'll see that a lot on social media, particularly Facebook with the Courier Mail. They'll put they'll draw you in with a statement or a headline. And this particular one was about this woman who, I can't remember it exactly, but she was the best sex I've ever had, she said, and now we're getting married. And she was marrying a tree. So if that's the quality of the story some publications are putting out, think about how much better you can do.
Yeah.
So process. Oh no, it was appalling, and I didn't read it. You'll be proud of me. I didn't read it, but a lot of people talked about it that day. So delivery of the plan. So once you've got your stories, you've created your plan. Now you have to get out and delivering it. And this, what I mean by delivering it, is you've got to write the stories. So if you're going to be sending to the media, knowing how to put together a media release so that it grabs their attention. There's a process that you do need to go through. Once you know how to do it, then you're all over it. Pitching the stories. How do you get their attention? So you've written the media release. What is it that you put in your email that gets them to pick up the phone instead of just skimming past yours? And part of this process is also recognising that not every story, not every pitch that you put forward is going to be picked up, and there's lots of reasons for why that happened. But if you've done everything right, then maybe it's just not the right time. And never be afraid, if you've got a good relationship with the journalist, to ask them, why didn't you pick up my story? What was it I could have done better? What did you need? And they will tell you if you've got a good relationship with them. So part of that planning process also, what are you going to blog about? What are you going to put up on your social media? And you can do this by the seat of your pants if you like. But then there's no structure, there's no strategy. You can't track and measure your results. So if you're using networking and media as your primary, Marie said what goes into the email. I'll tell you that. I'll finish this sentence. So if you're using networking and media as your two primary PR tools, so remember I said it's just not all about the media. There are a lot of different ways that you can build your public profile, is that you've got to be able to track and measure the success of that. And sometimes it's quite obvious. The phone rings. It rings more than it did the week before. But with networking is, like if you're out there, you're pitching, you've got your elevator pitch, you're telling people what you're doing, you're making great connections, you're building relationships, how are you going to measure whether that's working for you? Because networking takes a significant amount of time out of your month, and you want to be making sure that you're putting your efforts into things that work. The same with advertising or flyers or any other marketing strategy that you use. So back to, what do you put in your pitch? Maria, okay, I'll answer your first question, which is about the pitch. So how I open it is that when I start working with a new client, I always send the media kit first with an introduction. Hi, my name's Annette Densham. I work with I'm from Publicity Genie. I'm working with Shah Moore, and she's the founder of the Y Network and all of the other Ys, more commonly known as the Y Woman. Give a brief overview of who she is and what she does, and then I say, please find below a copy of Shah's media kit or a link, because a lot of outlets have like pretty strong firewalls. So if you don't have to send an attachment, send a link to a Dropbox so they can go there themselves. A copy of her photo, and here are the things that she can speak on. If you'd like any more information, just let me know. So I may or may not hear from them, but they save that stuff. So I send a story out. Again, dear Joe, hey, I read your article the other day on toxic chemicals in cleaning products, and it was really interesting, and you raised some great points. I'm working with Joanna, and her expertise is as a nutritional chemist, and she works with people who've got toxic overload, and she's found so I give them a couple of key points, so just to bait them in. So what was really cool about the story, or what was like really grabbing, what was the angle? So I throw that in there. Joanna's available for an interview at this time. Please find below the media release and a link to her website where you can see her media kit. So it is cool to send a link. A lot of journalists do prefer that because they don't want a virus and they don't know if you're sending them one. And particularly if you're sending a large document or a large image, is that they may not be able to open it, or they may not be allowed to open it, so that's okay. So if you were sending the pitch from yourself, Maria, you'd say, "Hi Joe, my name's Maria, this is my business. I found it really interesting, the story that you wrote. If they haven't written anything that you're interested in, I have a story that may be of interest to you and your readers because," and tell them why, and then give them a couple of key points. Please find below my media release. I'll give you a call in 2 days to see if I can give you more information. And never ring a journalist up and go, "I'm just ringing to see if you got my email," because it'd be like, if I got your email, I would have called you, or I'm not interested, or I'm too busy. But there's nothing wrong with ringing out and saying, "Hey, Annette, I've just got a little bit more info about that media release I sent to you on Tuesday, and I said I'd give you a call today. Do you have a moment to talk?" "No, don't, busy." So always be polite, be mindful that if they're on a deadline, they're not going to want to talk to you. So that's part of the follow-up. And then if you get an interview and you go, "Yes, awesome, I had my story, I followed my plan, I sent it, I pitched it, I followed up, now they want to talk to me," is prepare some questions that you think that they might ask. Quite often journalists, I'd often, like when I work with CEOs, I'd say to the media, "Okay, I've sent you this media release. What specifically do you want to talk to about it?" Because then I would prepare them. I do talking points, so they had the key facts at their hand, because you don't want to get caught with your pants down and sitting there looking like a goldfish, popping air, and you don't know. But never be afraid to say, "Hey, I don't have that information, can I get back to you with it?" Because they would much rather you give them the facts and give them the right information. Got any questions around that? No questions?
Not yet, no, nothing's coming up just yet, but maybe they're thinking.
Because remember, you've got an opportunity. I'm sitting here, I will pour forth. I sound like a prophet. I will pour forth my wisdom.
A wealth of knowledge.
My wealth of knowledge, yes. One day I'll write a book about my experiences at the paper.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be G-rated.
Okay. Well, share it with us.
I will. So, what do you want to know? How can we help you, and what do you need to move forward?
So many great things have been coming up for me. Just the simple things, like even when you put a media release out there, just use a link and then put everything into a Dropbox. It's just a really helpful, handy hint. I think you've been giving us some great tips so far of what to do, and how to do it. And I suppose, you know, a biggie is really building the relationship, because that is absolutely, absolutely key. And then just having that plan, that's really important as well, isn't it?
Oh, Debbie, I have a talk that I do called Making Friends with the Media, where I go into a lot more detail on how you can start that relationship and build on that relationship, and it becomes a win-win, because at the end of the day, it has to be a win-win every step of the way. Maria says she needs you. I need you too. So we've got a few minutes left, so I thought maybe what I could do is, if it's okay, is just share some of the stories from some of the clients that I've worked with, which and they're from similar industries to our attendees tonight, you know, health and wellness, parenting. So it may trigger something for you. Yeah, sometimes you read someone else's blog and you go, oh, I could write about this aspect of it. So I had a client on the Gold Coast. It was only a very short contract, but she was a sex and relationships expert. So I used to say to her, how do you become a sex expert? I'd really like to know that. Great sense of humour. And you might remember towards the end of last year, there was a lot of hoo-ha around Tinder and the safety of Tinder. So we tapped into that and we created a list of tips on how you can use Tinder effectively and be safe. And it got picked up by a glossy magazine on the Gold Coast, and we called it To Tinder or Not to Tinder, you know, with that play on Shakespeare. And we just went through, we told her story of how she'd found herself single and how Tinder had been really good for her, and what you should expect and not expect from that process. So that was a how-to article. So, you know, how to use, themes like be a hero. So here's a theme, be a hero. I worked with a guy a few years ago, his name was Craig. So this is going back to the floods in 2011. It's just this dude sitting around at home. He's on a disability pension, really nice guy, and he's just overcome with emotion on the loss from the floods. So he starts ringing around a few friends, rings the Red Cross and says, hey, can I use your warehouse, because I've gathered some second-hand stuff and we can start putting together some little care packages for people. Within 2 weeks, he had moved into one of the RNA halls, and it was packed with cleaning products, you know, underwear, toothbrushes, sanitary products for women, nappies, you name it. And he went from this dude sitting on his couch to being asked to speak at events. You know, he was a real hero. He's just an ordinary bloke who saw an opportunity to help people and took it. There was a lady called Sherry Bauer. Some of you may know her. She's from Melbourne. But she was raising money for charity. And she was doing this big long walk in Africa to raise money for young girls. And she got a fabulous piece in a local Melbourne newspaper. So the story wasn't about her business, but, you know, who would you rather do business with? Someone who has a big heart and is charitable and does things for other people, or someone who's just purely focused on themselves? I also have, so going back to the Christmas theme, I had a client who does emotional eating. So she doesn't emotionally eat, but she's been there, and now she's developed a program to help people overcome emotional eating. So around Christmas we were talking, and she said, you know, this is the worst time of year for people who've, you know, got emotional issues. A lot of them often turn to food and they binge and they feel awful, and it creates this whole cycle of shame and guilt. So we did an article that food is sometimes the worst drug that there is, and here are 5 things that you can do to help overcome that feeling of loneliness and of binge eating at this particular time of the year. Another client created an app for fitness, 5-minute fitness, and we pitched that to the Daily Telegraph, and they grabbed it and they ran it in an article called Let's Get Physical. And this was a how-to, how to get fit in 5 minutes. So he talked about some different strategies that people can use, 5 minutes a day to do on interval training, functional fitness, and then they did this huge big promotion of his app. So his sales just went whoop, skyrocketed. So they're just a few of the things that I've been working on that have made a huge difference to my clients in terms of raising their profile, getting their message and their story out there using lots of different avenues. So for Luke, the guy with the app, we also turned that into a blog and into a series of Facebook posts. So he was able to engage people on a number of different platforms. Are there any questions around what I've just said?
It's quite interesting listening to you talk about the how-to blog or piece that you write, because I think it would be pretty simple if we allowed ourselves to go to that space to write about the how-tos in what it is that we do and the client that we work with, our avatar. So a how-to, I would think, would come up as being I don't want to say easy, but the least challenging of something to write, a how-to article.
Absolutely, Debbie, because if you take those problems and the solutions that you offer your clients, there is a series of how-to articles right there. So, I'd like to suggest some homework. Homework is, and I won't be checking it because I really don't believe in homework, but if you sit and just brainstorm the problems that you solve, and I guarantee you that you'll come up with a list of about 10, 15 things, and out of those you'll be able to grab at least 5 how-to articles. And if you doubt the popularity and the helpfulness of how-to, just go look at Huffington Post. They are peppered with how-to articles. The same with Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia is also quite prolific when it comes to publishing how-to articles.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds like a fabulous home play, and maybe we could share it in the Facebook page, the Y Network Facebook page, and see what people think. Is it sound appealing, and is it something that we would like to read about? And if we want to ask any questions around it, then that's the perfect forum for us to do it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep, I'll hang around if there's some more questions that you want to ask on the Facebook page.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yep, so I'll just be sitting here. I'm actually finishing off a strategy for someone at the moment. So I'll be sitting here tapping away. So you can grab me on there.
I just want to add, and thank you, ladies, so much for doing that. I know that there may not have been a lot of questions because people were probably just taking furious notes, and sometimes it's afterwards that they sit there and have the questions come up. So for everyone who's on the webinar tonight, there is a pinned post in the Y Network members only group on Facebook, so feel free to give the girls feedback as well, because I got some extra ideas from tonight as well. You can always learn, and it's what you do with the information, because information's great, but if you do nothing with it and it sits on a piece of paper on your desk, then it's you've wasted an hour. So it's what you do with it now. So Annette does offer obviously courses. That's her main business. She's offered all of this information here to Y Network because she's just awesome and very giving. But anything you'd like to do from here moving forward, it will be part of her normal business structure. So if you want to manage it yourself, then do one of Annette's courses where she teaches you how to do it. If you want her to manage it, I don't know if she has any space left for clients is where she manages your PR, but certainly ask the question. And again, just get out there and try it, and persistence and consistency is the key. I'm surprised that I don't have restraining orders placed on me with journalists across the world that I've stalked until I got what I wanted, because when you really want to go for it, and sometimes it's just, as Annette said, you've rung at the wrong time, they're on a deadline, they're on something else that you don't know about, and it's not their focus, and you can take their rejection or their coldness on the phone personally. I promise you, don't do it, because then I've rung back another time and I thought, I'm not going to let that beat me, and they ring up and it's like I'm their best friend, and I go, oh, I'm so glad you called back because I really do want to talk to you, and then it's like, wow. So, you know, just pick the phone up, and if the journalist you're ringing doesn't get you, they always, you know, they can get sick, they can get a day off, and, you know, Rachel Birmingham shares a story like this where she hounded media for ages, and then the journalist happened to be away sick that day, and someone else answered the phone, and they featured her on TV that night because they loved it. So it could just be a clash of wills, you never know, but just keep trying. And thank you so much, Sarah. Sarah, I'm reading Sarah's thank you comment. Thank you, everyone's saying. But thank you so much, Annette, for sharing, and Debbie for facilitating. And, you know, guys, Debbie is an amazing life coach. There's no mistake that she won that award. So if any of you are struggling, even though that's not tonight's topic, it can also be related. You could also be holding yourself back from success because you might have some things that you need to deal with internally. And all of us do. We all have limiting beliefs that we place on ourselves. And quite often it's our light that scares us, not our darkness. So please talk to Debbie if you need help with that. She's an incredible life coach, and of course we're blessed that she's our Gold Coast chapter manager as well. So ask the questions in the group. Have a great night, everyone. If you are listening to this as a recording and you couldn't listen to it live, the pinned post will stay in the members group for a couple of days, so please feel free to ask your questions or share your feedback on there, because feedback is important for us to know what you'd like to hear next month. So I'll wrap it up now as we're 8:01, and thanks everyone for being online. Thanks so much, Debbie. Good night. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. Talk to you soon.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
See ya.